Hello lovely friends, I'm Alice. Thank you so much for watching. I have another Journal What's My video, and this is a spread that I do quite like a lot, so I'm very happy to be sharing this with you. As you can see on the right side, I already have like a few pieces of papers laid out. That's because before filming the video I already decided on kind of like this color scheme. I mean, it's pretty basic. It's still the soft pastel-y kind of thing, but I just knew what kind of pieces of papers I wanted to use. So right now I'm going through the stack of pictures that I printed out and just trying to decide on pictures that actually fit the colors. But yeah, so that's how we're starting off. And yeah, I wanted to tell you guys a story. So, because I almost got a heart attack. Yesterday I had evening class and I was on my way home. So it was already dark out, and yesterday it was super windy. It was so freezingly cold and it was really windy. And I was listening to a podcast. So there's this podcast that my friend listened to, and then she shared that on her Instagram story. So I checked it out and I got really hooked on it. It is a German podcast about crimes, and yeah, just so it's basically about crimes in Germany that are set in Germany, and it just talks about how they happened or whatever, right? So I was listening to a podcast, and yesterday's episode, or I was trying to catch up, and the episode that I listened to was about a murder case or an abduction kidnapping case that is set in the 1980s. And it was basically about a man who would abduct women and he would keep them hostage in the basement, in the basement of his house. So he had this huge bunker built in the house, and so I was in a bus home from evening class, and right now they were talking about how this man would kidnap those women, but then to make it seem as if the women just disappeared because they wanted to leave their old lives behind and all that, he would have them write letters to like their families and their work, their friends and all that, and he just pressured them to write those notes with a gun held to their head. And it was just they were describing like how he dealt with them in detail, and so I got really spooked out with the music and all that. It got kind of creepy, right? And I was on a bus and I was already spooked out, plus it was cold outside, it was dark out, and because it was so windy I had my scarf wrapped around my head. And I got off the bus. I went to, because the bus station is on the back side of the house, like the apartment building that I live in. On the back side of the house, it is not very well lit. There are barely any lights. There is one light right above the door, so you can kind of see the keyhole, but it's like not enough to actually find the keyhole properly. So I was trying to get the door open, then I finally had it open, but because the wind was so strong, I was kind of struggling to get the door open. This took me a long time to, I don't know, I feel like I just have no muscles. I couldn't get the door open. And then when I finally got it just a tiny bit open, suddenly from behind my back, a huge ass guy grabbed the door, and like he obviously wanted to help me get the door open, but because my vision was limited due to my scarf and me being already spooked out with the podcast and just it being dark out and everything, it was so scary. It looked like one of those scenes where, you know, in the horror movies when suddenly just a hand appears from the darkness and then it looks like the hand will drag the person into the dark. That's exactly how I felt, and and I was so scared to the point where I couldn't even scream. I literally just balled my hands into fists and I whimpered. I let out this pathetic whimper. There was no screaming at all. Like, I didn't even scream for help or anything, but I literally thought I would be abducted or kidnapped, and I was so spooked out. So I don't know why I'm telling you guys this. It was just so funny, and I really thought my heart would stop. I was so scared. But looking back on it, now I know that if I were to ever be actually abducted, I'd die. Like, I would die instantly. People wouldn't even say, oh yeah, it was late in the night and suddenly I heard a woman scream, because you wouldn't hear me scream. I'd just be whimpering like some pathetic, I don't know what that was, you know. Why can't I defend myself? So yeah, I was really scared actually. I really thought I'd die. But the podcast was really good. The podcast was really good. I finished the podcast when I got home and I was eating dinner, because my family already ate since I came home quite late. So I ate by myself and I listened to that podcast. And I don't know, I was so spooked out. But the podcast ended with just them explaining the whole case, like them finishing by saying that the women that he abducted, he actually did kill them, and how he disposed of the bodies and all that. So scary, so scary, but it's so fascinating. I don't know what it is about that podcast. It is so wild, just so. I just never know what to say after I listen to the podcast, but at the same time, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't stop listening to this because it's just that fascinating and that interesting. So yeah, that's what I've been listening to, and I've just been getting a little bit more into podcasts and all that. So because I do listen to music actually all the time, like no matter what I do, and I feel like I want to just start listening to more podcasts if I'm like on the train on my way to uni and all that, since most of the time my train rides, they are about like 45 minutes, so that's a good time to listen to podcasts. But yeah, if there are any podcasts that you guys really enjoy, I would highly appreciate it if you could recommend me some, because currently I really am just listening to this crime podcast and Ty and Keisha's Be That Sam podcast, so it's a BTS podcast. These are the only two that I'm currently listening to, but I would be happy to be able to listen to more. So if there are any that you really enjoy, I'd really appreciate it if you could just give me some recommendations. So for this spread, I'm actually mostly, like, the whole writing on the left side is basically just the lyrics from BTS I Need You, and just at that time of this journaling page, those lyrics fit perfectly into just what was happening, what I was feeling and all that. So I pretty much wrote out the whole lyrics. I think I left out some parts, like the repetitive ones, but it really fit into just my whole mood. So I was blasting that on repeat and all that. Speaking of blasting things on repeat, currently on repeat, literally the whole Mono album. I'm so in love with the album. I'm just so moved every time I listen to that freaking album. I feel like my heart is being ripped out, and just, oh my god. I have no words. It is so good. So if you haven't heard or haven't listened to RM's newest mixtape, it's called Mono, and please do check it out. My favorite song, like the one that just really strikes my heart, is Good, and it is so good. It is so, I don't know, it my heart. So I don't want to ramble on for any longer because we are almost at the end. But I really do highly recommend that album. So please do listen to it and do stream it. Just have so much love. But yeah, this is the video. I really like the spread. It does make me very happy. It's just one of those simple ones, but I still hope you guys liked it. I hope you liked the story time thing. Yeah, if there are any podcasts, please do recommend them to me. I would be very, very grateful. So thank you guys so much for watching as always. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys stay well. I hope you stay creative, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Bye.